Indiana Fever superstar Caitlin Clark has been named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year.
So this is what I'm saying to y'all, though, and I know we got to go to break, and we didn't necessarily go there, maybe we should. There are so many layers in this conversation around the way that it's being discussed. No. And yes, Shannon, I know y'all are going to say you know, and Stephen A., I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin.
Clark becomes the first WNBA player to ever win this award.
And then here we have today, basically clapping back at all of that and proving that they know that they are the moment, they are the Showtime team, they are the biggest team currently in the WNBA. This kind of stuff is not only good for the Indiana Fever, it's good for the entire WNBA.
So will Caitlin Clark be a good pro? Absolutely. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen.
This is what the media is highlighting, because whether you guys like it or not, Caitlin Clark is the reason that a lot of these new fans are watching the WNBA. And anybody saying, oh, it's the rookie class, no, it's not. It's Caitlin Clark.
You ever watch someone dominate an entire sport while the biggest sports network in the world pretends not to notice? That was Caitlin Clark's rookie year. While she was busy turning packed arenas into fever dreams and breaking records like Twigs underfoot, ESPN acted like she was just a local story gone viral. Not anymore, because now even ESPN can't keep the lid on it. The same outlet that once treated her like a TikTok trend has done a full 180, finally admitting that Caitlin Clark isn't just part of the WNBA story. She is the story. So what changed? What forced the sports media giant to stop gatekeeping and start game recapping? Let's talk receipts, regret, and one undeniable basketball phenom they can't ignore anymore.
It's a beautiful time, and I don't think anybody that is a part of this league or has covered this league, sure, we lament kind of keeping this little thing that we loved protected from all of the noise, right?
Right.
But in the same breath,
yeah,
the eyeballs and the visibility and the growth is better for all involved. I mean, frankly, John, like, Caitlin Clark got me here, right? You know what I mean?
For months, ESPN kept Caitlin Clark in a weird digital purgatory. Not quite celebrated, not quite dismissed. They gave her just enough attention to say they did, while reserving the spotlight for familiar names. It was like they saw her 40-point games and logo threes and said, neat, now back to your regularly scheduled programming. But guess what? The programming got hijacked because the fans weren't having it. They lit up every comment section, every broadcast thread, every social post with one demand: respect the game, respect Clark. And when those numbers started rolling in, record ratings, sold-out games, viral highlights every night, ESPN realized they weren't in control of the narrative anymore.
NBA season starting to ramp up and media days taking place around the league. Today was media day for the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark prepares for her sophomore season. She won the Rookie of the Year award. She averaged 19 points, 8 assists per game, led the Fever to their first postseason in 8 years. She also finished the season 4th in MVP voting last year. But this season, take a look. Clark is the favorite for the MVP. Slightly shorter odds than A'ja Wilson. That's important because the preseason MVP favorite has gone on to win the award in each of the last.
Let's rewind to the moment the tide started turning. Caitlin Clark didn't just play well, she rewrote the script. Her stat lines looked like video game glitches. Her highlights hit the algorithm like fireworks. Meanwhile, ESPN kept handing out flowers to players with solid seasons and solid brands, but nowhere near Clark's impact. They crowned MVPs with safe headlines and familiar names, and all the while, Clark was casually nuking record books. Triple-doubles from deep, game winners from half court, national viewership spikes every time she laced up. But ESPN, still acting like she was a passing trend, until they couldn't anymore, until the pressure from fans and the power of performance forced them to flip the script and admit they missed the moment, big time.
Man, she is just different. She's special. Just a different type of electricity, man. Did you hear the roar of the crowd while that shot was in flight? Like, I'm expecting big things from her, especially MVP type conversation things. Like, I think she's ready. She know it's her second year. She know what type of physicality.
So why didn't ESPN give her the crown sooner? Let's break it down. A'ja Wilson's great, no denying that. But the way ESPN clung to her MVP campaign while Caitlin Clark was breaking records weekly, that was wild. It felt less like recognition and more like reputation management. Wilson had the legacy, the branding, the NBA crossover appeal. But Caitlin, she had the moment, the momentum. And still, ESPN acted like she hadn't earned the spotlight. Like being the most watched and most talked about player in women's basketball wasn't enough. It was like awarding someone for best attendance while the student next to them just solved quantum physics before lunch.
Caitlin has done for not just college basketball, but for women's basketball, period, I think has been great. The following, people watching the game, sellouts that we haven't seen ever. It just really bothers me though when people just take bits and pieces of what they want to take and they don't listen to everything. And you don't hear everything. It wasn't personal. One, it was my opinion on how I think she'll be at the next level, because I do remember me saying that Caitlin, to me, could be the best college shooter I've ever seen. When you put these expectations on these young women in college to go to the next level and be immediately dominant, and when that doesn't happen, then people come back and say, oh, she was a bust, she was a flop, she wasn't that good. Just let them do what they're doing in college, enjoy what they're doing in college, and let them become stars in the WNBA.
Clark's season wasn't just elite, it was physics-defying. She was bending reality with every step-back three, pulling up from the logo like it was a free throw, dishing no-look dimes through triple coverage, and somehow, some way, that wasn't enough for ESPN to stop playing it safe. They crowned MVPs who didn't lead in points, didn't break any viewership records, didn't reshape the entire energy of women's basketball. Caitlin was revolutionizing the game and getting the same flowers as someone who just showed up on time. No hate to other stars, but let's be honest. One was changing the sport. The other was just collecting trophies.
I would be remiss if I didn't say this. A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. But there was a lot of people tried to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place, because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they do.
Then came the pivot. Suddenly, ESPN wanted in. They couldn't ignore the headlines anymore. Couldn't pretend those record-breaking crowds were for someone else. So they did what they always do. Waited until it was trendy. The same analyst who overlooked her all season started calling her the future. Segments went from side mentions to full-on features. And fans noticed. Welcome to the party, they said. Too bad the keg was already empty and Clark had already left with the trophy. Now ESPN's scrambling to catch up. Like someone who just realized their ex is famous and regrets every text they left unread. It's poetic, really. The network that almost missed the moment is now desperately trying to rebrand it as "We saw this coming." We didn't forget.
Really what we're going to see from Caitlin this year, it's not just being able to get better on the court, it's also, she's described this greater level of comfort and being that second-year pro player. And I actually asked her today at Media Day how she described where she's at this point this year compared to this point last year.
Last season, ESPN's rankings felt like they were written in crayon. They had Clark behind Asia Wilson, again, and nobody could really explain why. Not the analysts, not the fans, not even Asia. Probably. Clark was out there dropping numbers you only see in fictional sports movies. 30-point nights, double-digit assists, breaking the internet on a Tuesday just for fun. Yet ESPN said, let's go with legacy. Cool. Except Clark's resume was starting to look like a legacy in real time. Fast forward to now, they're rolling out the red carpet like she's royalty. Highlight montages, special segments, full segments with violins and slow-mo. Too bad we all saw how late they were to the parade. If Caitlin Clark was a rocket, ESPN was still stuck in traffic at the launch pad.
Like she's always in great shape, never afraid of the moment. Again, we're talking about Caitlin Clark here. The spotlight been on her for years. She's not going to shy away from it. I expect her to be in the MVP conversation.
Now they're trying to play catch-up. From who is Caitlin Clark to she's the greatest thing since sliced basketballs. It's hilarious. You can almost smell the desperation in their coverage now. Coming soon, dramatic voiceovers, I've always believed in her quotes, and probably a limited documentary where they conveniently skip over the months they left her off every highlight reel. And she deserves it. Caitlin Clark's making basketball feel like a global event. She's not just lighting up courts, she's lighting up cultures. And ESPN, they're that guy showing up to the wedding without an invite, trying to make a toast. You're late, bro. You miss the vows.
We know that the expectations for Caitlin Clark, they are constant and they are high. How does she continue to deal with that?
Well, the thing with Caitlin Clark, Malika, is that she's so self-motivated, and she even described herself to me today as self-aware, that she really knows what it will take to be able to elevate her game from all that great success she enjoyed in her rookie season to now this sophomore year. One of the things that she mentioned to me today is that right after the Fever hired new head coach Stephanie White, one of the first things that Clark did with the staff was sit down in the film room, and they really dissected her game film to be able to figure out what were the areas that she really needed to work on.
Let's talk about missed opportunities. ESPN fumbled this one so bad, they might as well have buttered their hands. While Clark was putting up stats so ridiculous they looked fake, ESPN was over there recycling the same tired narratives and showering attention on players who, let's be honest, weren't breaking any new ground. Clark had the kind of season that made you check the box score twice just to make sure you weren't seeing things. Logo threes, 40-point triple-doubles, assists that defied geometry. She wasn't just bending the game, she was rewriting its rulebook. And ESPN, they were probably airing a segment about who wore the best pregame outfit. Imagine breaking records at a historic rate and having to wait for the network to finish its nap before they acknowledge it. This wasn't just late recognition, it was sports journalism malpractice.
People say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness, she and the Indiana Fever accounted for 45% of all the broadcast value of the WNBA last season. She accounted also for helping drive the numbers of merchandising up 500%, of course.
And now, like clockwork, ESPN can't get enough of her. Every move she makes, slow-mo replay. Every pass, highlight package. They're acting like they've discovered fire, when really, they just finally noticed the sun. You'll see it soon. Her next no-look pass will get 37 replays, and a voiceover from Stephen A. Smith talking about generational talent. And yes, she deserves every single frame. But don't let ESPN pretend they were on this ride from the beginning. They weren't. They were too busy running generic top 5 storylines segments while Clark was rewriting women's basketball in real time. Now they're frantically editing tribute videos like That'll Erase the Receipts. Spoiler alert, we've got them all saved. You can't gaslight the internet.
Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all.
Here's what makes this turnaround so satisfying. It's not just that Clark is getting her flowers now, it's how late those flowers are being delivered. She was already miles down the road by the time ESPN decided to lace up their sneakers. While they were debating which MVP storyline would trend better, Clark was dragging the entire sport into a new era, one sold-out arena at a time. She didn't just prove she belonged, she made it embarrassing for anyone who ever doubted her in the first place. And the kicker? Even now with all eyes finally locked on her, the network still has the nerve to pretend they were waiting for the right moment. Nah, you were waiting because you didn't know what to do with a player this good, this fast, this undeniable, but the game didn't wait. And neither did the fans.
Caitlin Clark, in terms of the BS that she had to deal with off the court. We got to remember she's been box office, she was the main attraction, and there were so many storylines that's been associated with her. Most recently, the whole thing with her and Cheryl Swoops, even though it really wasn't her, it was Cheryl Swoops and all this. Every time you turned around, there was something that she had to deal with. The reason I bring that up, and I love that, because as a rookie, ladies and gentlemen, put this in perspective. Caitlin Clark finished the regular season leading rookies in scoring, field goals made, 3-point field goals made, assists, steals, and minutes played, and she led the league in assists and 3-pointers made.
Now we're watching ESPN scramble like a kid who forgot their homework was due, patching together highlight reels, tossing around superlatives like confetti, and hoping nobody remembers how long they stayed quiet. It's almost comedic. You can feel the panic behind the scenes as they rush to paint themselves as early believers. But real fans? We've got memory like an elephant and screenshots like a historian. We remember the weeks they spent hyping up everyone else while Clark was casually torching the league. Now, the same network that once acted like she was just a cute college story is treating her like the second coming of Jordan. And frankly, they should. Because while they were sleeping, she was building an empire. And watching them play catch-up, it's not just satisfying. It's poetic justice served on a highlight reel.
Me of what Dame does. If anybody ever noticed, her first shot always a three. First quarter, second quarter, third. She sets the distance on her first shot, so you have to guard her there. Now she can do whatever she wants to do. She's playing a chess game. That's what Dame does. He starts his game off, he's gonna shoot a deep ass three to force you to guard her from there.
And to speak to her, to be around her, she's got charisma, she's got style, she's got bravado, she's got class, she's smart as hell. Communicates her thoughts very, very well. She is so incredibly marketable that what she is doing on the collegiate level, her coming into the NBA and the WNBA, you could just feel, I don't want to use the word resentment at all, because it's not fair to women basketball players out there who may have critiqued her. But what I'm saying is that when you're talking about her greatness, it is perfectly okay for those who have been great to say, okay, let's see what you got.
At long last, the spotlight's where it belongs. Caitlin Clark, the phenom, the franchise, the future, is finally getting the coverage she earned from day one. She carried college basketball, turned preseason games into sold-out events, and made networks reevaluate their entire programming. Now ESPN is chasing her story like it's the only one that matters. And maybe it is, but let's get one thing clear. Next season, we don't want another brand-driven MVP campaign. We want real basketball decisions, real stats, real impact. Because if they try to run the same popularity playbook again, we might have to send them a calculator and a DVR full of receipts. Clark isn't just changing the game, she's changing who gets to define it. And for once, ESPN finally seems ready to follow. Let's see if they can keep up.